Hey guys, how we doing? As you all know from the Japanese announcement stream not long ago, we're getting the new event Arknights on 21st of October, and comes with it is a new limited banner with Kal'tsit and Scotty the Corrupting Heart, who I'll just call as Scotty from now on in the video, as our limited operator. And hence as tradition, here we have the Shuju Pool video. Saying that, I'm sure 99.9% of you already know that this banner is a must pull, so instead this is more of a operator analysis video. This will be a longer than usual video, but I didn't want to separate it into two videos to explain two operators in the same banner just to, milk more videos. So instead what I'll do is leave a timestamp down below in the description, and you can choose to skip to the operator you're more interested in, I guess. To begin with, I think we should talk about Kal'tsit, since she's probably one of the most well-known operators in the game, at least for those of us who's already read the story before, and perhaps the most anticipated operator due to that reason. Kal'tsit is a single target medic with one lane of extra length to her attack range, but unlike what her class suggests, her role is not about healing other operators in your team. Instead, the way she tries to, help out is to kill all enemies before they can reach other operators, and hence not taking any damage in the first place. For that, she has a creature she can summon called Monster, and she will prioritize healing Monster and herself in combat, no matter how low other operators in her attack range might have like 0 HP. And so it's not rare for you to see your main tank dropping to like single digit HP almost dying, but since Monster just took a hit and lost 50 HP, oh my god, Kal'tsit will heal Monster first instead of your almost dead operators. That is something to keep in mind if you ever try to use Kal'tsit as a normal medic. Since we mentioned Monster, let's talk about it. In some sense, you're not really pulling for Kal'tsit, but you're actually pulling for Monster, who blocks 3, has 5,433 max HP, 1,402 base attack, and 405 defense when Kal'tsit is at E290, and only has a 25-second redeployment time when Kal'tsit is at E2. Also, when Monster is killed, it will explode and deal 1,200 true damage to all enemies surrounding it and stun them for 3 seconds, which makes him somewhat usable as a quick redeploy AoE stun at the same time. But there's also some downsides to Monster, like how Monster has 0 defense when he's not in Kal'tsit's attack range. This can be a problem when you want him to survive longer, but if you do want it to die and explode, this is actually a good thing, I guess. And he does use 1 deployment unit limit when used, so essentially you're using 2 unit limit just to use Monster, pretty much. Then there's the cost of deploying both of them at the same time. Kal'tsit costs 20 DP to deploy and Monster costs another 10. Combined they'll cost 30 DP. Might not be the biggest problem, but something to look out for when using them. Now we can talk about her skills. Her first skill is a very basic one, and one I wouldn't really recommend most players to level up over skill rank 7. This skill will increase both Kal'tsit and Monster's defense by up to 150% at M3, also giving Kal'tsit 50% chance to block physical attacks. This might seem to be good for surviving at the first glance, but there's really no such situation where you should put Kal'tsit in a position where she's getting attacked in the first place anyway. So this skill has rarely any use case from what I've seen personally. Next we have skill 2. Both Kal'tsit's skill 2 and 3 are bound to Monster. What that means is that both skills will only gain and keep SP when Monster is deployed. And when Monster dies, all SP will be lost. During the duration of her skill 2, Monster will gain the ability to hit enemy equal to his block count, 3, plus 100 attack speed, and increase attack by 90%, which brings his attack to over 2600. So yes, you can think of Blaze skill 2. The skill lasts 20 seconds and only has a charge time of 8 seconds. As you can tell, this is a very broken skill, and you can really use Monster with skill 2 as a lane keeper easily. I would recommend M3ing this skill right after skill 3. Then at last we have skill 3. This skill is one of the most broken skills in the game. within the 20-second duration of this skill, monster will have plus 260% attack, but then gradually drops to plus 0% at the end of the 20-second duration. That gives him over 5,000 attack at the start of the skill. Oh, did I mention that he does true damage? Monster is the most consistent true damage dealer with only 15 seconds of charge time compared to the 20 seconds of duration of the skill, and has extremely high damage. This makes him with skill 3 a great choice to deal with most elite enemies and even bosses, except for those ones who can, fly or one-shot him. As you can see here, even Patriot is powerless facing this skill. This is why I would M3 this skill first out of all of Kal'tsit's skills. And at last, let us talk about Skadi. She's a Sora type operator where she will passively heal operators within her attack range, but unlike Sora, Skadi can summon a creature called Seaborn on any deployable tile, ground or high ground, and the 8 tiles surrounding the Seaborn also count as Skadi's attack range. This effect also works with all of Skadi's skills as well. Seaborn lasts 25 seconds and has a 30-second redeployment time, and that is her first talent. Her second talent is that when there are operators within her or the Seaborns, which pretty much is Skadi's attack range, Skadi will gain plus 6% attack. If there exists a Abyssal Hunter's operator in set range, like let's say a Spectre as an example, this buff will increase to 15%. At potential 5, this buff will increase by another 3%, but even at E2 90, there's only a 13 attack increase, only half of what potential 4 gives her. So if you really want to pull, potential 5 is probably the most cost efficient goal after potential 1, to be honest. Next, we can talk about her skills. Her skill 1 brings survivability to operators within her attack range by absorbing 50% of their damage taken onto herself at M3. She will also have increased max HP by 170%, and at E2 90, this will bring her max HP to 2725. Skill 1 also increases her HP recovery from 10% to 80% of her attack, so roughly 360 HP per second recovery. What this does is that this allows her to greatly decrease the risk of operators tanking, dying, and also healing them at the same time. As an example, with very simple setup, Skadi can allow 3 operators to tank Tallulah Fire Rain with just 2 low rarity medics in the team. This does not mean other medics are useless now. Instead, she's just making other medics' jobs easier. Like, Nightingale is still definitely great when you're fighting Tallulah. This skill does its job at rank 7, but if you have the resources, it's a worthy M3. Next up, we have skill 2. Skadi's skill 2 is a must M3. This is an infinite duration skill where Skadi will buff all allies within her attack range by giving them 60% of both her attack and defense, also increasing the healing trait of healing by 10% to 20% of her attack per second at M3. With this skill, she can give up to 270 attack and almost 160 defense to allies. This will allow lane holders like Thorns, Blaze, and Mountain to become even more reliable than before. Can you imagine a Blaze with almost 2000 attack? And still with Thorns, 2000 attack Thorns. This attack increase is incredible. But not just that. This buff is also great for pretty much any operator, but especially for single target snipers like Exia, Ashe, and Archetto, since this archetype of snipers benefits greatly from attack buffs. If any of you remember how I recommended you guys to pull Archetto, this skill is pretty much the reason. And then there's skill 3. Skill 3 is Skadi buffing ally attack at her best. She tries so hard that her trait of passive healing turns into losing 5% of her HP per second, and since this skill lasts 20 seconds, if there's no one healing her, she will die after the skill duration ends. But on the other side, this allows the most powerful attack buff in the entire game. First, Skadi will deal 70% of her attack as true damage per second to all enemies within her attack range. This true damage stacks with the effect that surrounds the Seaborn. So in a small area, the true damage can be up to 140% of her attack. But not only that, she will buff attacks of all operators within the range by 110% of her attack. Even with her alone, this will be 490 attack, but even better, this skill can carry the buff attack of Scotty if her attack is buffed by another operator. As an example, Warfarin's skill 2. And then Seaborn can carry this buff to anywhere on the map where there is a deployable tile. This brings so much flexibility to this buff, well beyond what Sora can provide. And that's the reason why skill 3 is almost a must M3 if you ask me. After this video, I hope I've made it clear to you guys what makes both of them a must pull for future content. Not just because of them being like a limited operator and another being in the story ever since the start, but also because of how much they will benefit you in the future if you can bring them home. My plan is to definitely get both of them, and probably M9 Scotty and probably M6 on Kal'tsit. I'm thinking about M9, but that will be debatable later down the line. This will be a lot of work, and I hope you guys will get to experience the same pain as I do. So good luck on your pulls, and I'll see you guys in the next video. See ya!